Hi everyone, my name is Ashanti and welcome to Uniquely Ashanti's Corner. I am coming to you with part two of my post-grad update. If you did not see part one, I will link it somewhere for you to watch it. Please go and watch that first before you watch this video, just so you're in the loop of everything. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into part two, which is going to take us to 2021. So after all that I went through in 2020, I said to myself, okay, I allowed 2020 to stop me from moving forward. This is not happening in 2021. I want to work. So I made the decision to take a break from volunteer editing so I could dedicate time to learning about resume writing, looking up jobs and internships that I was interested in, and trying to write more articles for a blog whenever I did it. And I worked with career consultants from my alma mater for resume writing. I spent hours and hours and hours looking up editorial internships and applying to the ones that seemed suitable for me. And I spent time trying to determine what are the best remote jobs and other remote side gigs that I could be doing. Um, and it was a pretty stressful time. I'm not going to lie. It was very stressful. And this particular year, my estranged sister proved my point about her being judgmental about me working. Just to give you guys a little bit of backstory, my parents got me an early birthday gift this particular year, a laptop for me to do work from home. And I didn't get around to setting it up yet because I was applying for internships, doing research, and I was prepping for a video interview at the time. And this was all being done on my older computer that was still functioning. You know, my parents just decided to get me a computer that's specifically just for work alone, just to keep things organized. Anyway, and according to my relative, when my sister learned that I had not set up my new computer yet, her response was, "What? She has a new laptop now? And she hasn't even set it up yet? Well, what's taking her so long to set it up anyway?" And I have to laugh about that now. my my sister's negative response truly irritated me at that moment. And first of all, it had not been that long since I had got the computer. It came in the mail and had just been sitting in my room for just a few days. It wasn't even a whole week that had passed since she thought that she knew so much. And she had to it had been like months and years that had been sitting there, and that was not the case. And in case you're wondering, no, I still did not talk to my estranged sister when she attempted to wish me happy birthday that year. She called, left a voicemail, and sent me a text message. Her birthday wishes weren't even genuine. Um, I could hear the phoniness in her voicemail, and it just made me cringe so much. It did. I just sent a brief text message to thank her, and that was it. And there was so much drama that occurred because I did not want to talk to my sister that day. And of course, it had to happen. It just had to happen when I was preparing for an interview that was going to be in just a few days. My sister always acts like her feelings matter more, and it truly irritates me at times. I just thank God for giving me the ability to block out all of that noise that day so I could prepare for my interview. Because when all that was going on, I just channeled that energy to that. So I thank God for that. That was God that gave me the strength for that. When the enemy sees that you are trying to move forward, he will do anything to stop you. And I was not about to give him the satisfaction. I wasn't going to do it. If I had to do this all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. My estranged sister might be the older sibling, but that certainly does not mean that her feelings are more important than mine. It doesn't mean that at all. I mean, she's upset because I won't allow room for phony birthday wishes, because I won't allow her to criticize the pace in which I'm moving to reach my goals. Wishing me happy birthday is nothing more than a task on her to-do list. No meaning behind it. Both my estranged sister and my relative, they are only concerned about what they want and using others. And as far as I am concerned, my sister has no say-so about me, since she is not actively helping me in any way, shape, or form. And in addition to that, she doesn't show any support or interest in what I aspire to do. This is why I had so much anxiety, like I was talking about in part one. I had so much anxiety about interacting with her while I was actively searching and applying to internships during this time. This is why I got so nervous at the times when I thought that she was coming over to visit us, all while I was still trying to figure out my career life. And I didn't need that stress then, and I certainly do not need it now. And to those of you out there tuning in right now, I just want to take time to say this. Don't ever feel like you have to answer to someone when they are not even helping you to move forward and don't support what you do. Don't allow people to dictate when you're supposed to reach certain goals, because everyone's story is different. Continue to learn where your story is going to lead you. You never know how your story will encourage someone else. So don't allow anybody to rush your journey. I know that it is very hard, especially when you hear negative comments like from my estranged sister, but instead of giving in to the harsh criticism, show the naysayers that they do not control you. Whether you believe it or not, you are stronger than you think. Only allow room for those who genuinely support you. Remember that. So, moving on. After months of applying to different internships, I finally landed an internship as an editorial research intern for a magazine. I was hired right on the spot, and the interviewer said that it was the very first time that she had ever did anything like that. She was truly impressed with my resume and how I responded to all the questions she presented. It was an unpaid opportunity, but I gained valuable skills that I needed. I only received a genuine congrats from a few people, and it certainly did not include my relative or my estranged sister. And that's okay. They showed me their true feelings, and it showed me how to move forward along with how much information I share with them. I refuse to share details about what I'm doing with those that do not fully support me. If you don't support me, that's fine. You're being true about your feelings, but do not pretend to be supportive just so you can gather as much information as you can and find a way to criticize what I'm doing. And on a side note, I eventually did get to meet my nephew when he and my estranged sister had came over to visit, which was after I got the internship, thankfully. he is a sweet, sweet little boy. He really is. Very smart, cute, very curious, and a little rough. He's always throwing things and trying to yank on something with all of his might. He's something else, I'm telling you. But anyway, as for my internship, I have successfully completed it and I started searching for jobs and side gigs that I could do. But I didn't start applying right away. For a while, I doubted if I was even good enough to apply. Would I make a mistake in the application process? What if I was asked something that I didn't know how to answer? I let all these thoughts just stop me from applying to so many jobs. And I gotta tell you, it is such a strange feeling to have the desire. You have this desire to work, but you pull back when you are faced with the application. So I looked on YouTube for some Christian related videos about overthinking to just get some type of advice or some type of help. And I came across a sermon that I needed to hear, which came from Redefined TV. I need you to stop overthinking. This is actually what motivated me to submit my very first application. And I was so proud of myself that I took the brave step forward. But as many of you are aware, excuse me, as many of you are aware, job searching takes a toll on you mentally, physically, and emotionally. I spent hours and hours looking for jobs that I felt I was qualified for, which is hard when you don't have a lot of experience to begin with. I was always tired and I couldn't think straight. And this actually backfired on me once. I don't want to go into great details about this, but one night, a different relative of mine and I were having a discussion. And since my brain wasn't working right, I asked this relative a question, not realizing the weight of what I had said. And in my worn out mind, it seemed like an innocent enough question that I was asking, but my relative did not see it that way and actually got really, really upset about it. And I apologized and my relative just said, well, we're both apologizing. But when I went back to my room, I was frustrated, confused, mad, and the waterworks started. I was like, what the heck just happened here? How did that happen? How did this relative just get mad at me about that question? I tried to get my mind off of what had just happened by continuing my job search, but I was just too upset. That disagreement with my relative, it put a halt in me researching more jobs that night. And my mind just automatically was flashing back to what happened in 2019 and 2020. And I was just thinking to myself, I can't allow what happened in 2019 and 2020 to repeat itself. I just can't let that happen again, where I allow certain scenarios to stop me from moving forward. I can't do it. I have to take control of this. This is the enemy rearing his ugly head again. So what did I do? I distanced myself from this relative. Even though I had moved on from this particular incident, I did not want to accidentally say something again to this relative due to my brain being worn out and causing another intense scenario that would distract me from job searching. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm a sensitive person. I am. I will definitely admit to that. Maybe it's because I'm a quiet person too. I've heard that quiet people tend to be sensitive. And I wanted to ensure that I could continue the task at hand. And while I'm not as sensitive as I used to be years ago, it's still something that I deal with. I know that it sounds extreme that I distance myself from this relative, especially since I live with this relative. Definitely not easy, but I wasn't doing it because I was mad or trying to get back at somebody or anything. It had absolutely nothing to do with that at all. I was fine at the time. It seemed like the best thing to do. I completely understand that we will always face obstacles and disagreements at any moment, but finding the right way to handle it is not always easy. So this is something that I'm still trying to figure out. I'm still trying to figure out how to handle my emotions and not allowing them to stop me from performing tasks. I'm not perfect. I never claim to be perfect, and I'm staying in prayer about it. My relative certainly wasn't a fan of me being distant and verbally expressed it several times. And I get it. This relative is used to talking to me every day and joking around like we usually do. But I had to find a way to keep my mind focused. And I guess you could say it was a necessary extreme to help me push forward. This plan, as unusual as it sounds, was actually effective. I was constantly researching jobs and applying to them without being affected by my emotions. Looking out for your feelings and well-being is not being selfish, okay? The method in which you try to protect it, it may not always be perfect, but you try to find you try different things and adjust when necessary. No one should ever feel bad for looking out for their mental health. And I am not telling anyone, a disclaimer, I am not telling anyone to do the same thing that I did to my relative. I'm just sharing my story with you all. That's it. Anyway, this went on for some months. I limited my conversations with this relative as I looked for jobs. Each day I searched online for jobs, updating my resume and cover letters for each role I applied for. And during this time, my relative kept trying to joke around with me, trying to get back to our normal, but I never joked back. I still limited conversations. I was just emotionally detached from it since I was determined to finish what I had started. It might be hard to believe, but it was actually easy for me to do this. I think this was more awkward for my relative than it was for me. Then finally, I heard from a company that wanted to schedule a phone interview with me for a freelance editor position. Since I didn't hear anything back from my former employer where I interned at, I figured that I might as well start applying to other editing roles. So anyway, the interviewer said that my resume showed all the skills that they were looking for, and they wanted to send me an editing sample to test my skills and see if I had what the capabilities that they were looking for. So I completed the revisions and I sent it back to them. The next day around the late afternoon, I get an email notification, and it's from the company that I did the editing sample for. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh boy, here goes another rejection. They're going to tell me that they're not going to move forward with my application. I'm just mentally preparing myself for the blow before I open the message. I open it and I see the words, "We were very impressed and would like to extend an offer." And I was so shocked. Here I was preparing for a rejection that didn't even exist. When I saw that message, I stood up and I yelled, "Yes, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are awesome. Now I can finally rest." all those hours, all those late nights, all those applications and resumes and cover letters I worked on, all that hard work paid off. I shared the good news with my father, who was, of course, happy for me. Then I shared the news with my other relative, who basically sucked the joy out of the moment. She immediately picked out all the negative things and said that I didn't know what I was doing in comparison to my estranged sister. She made me wish that I didn't even share the news with her. It it just goes to show you that there are some family members that are rooting for you to fail. I mean, I knew that I was going to get some type of negativity from this relative, but I just thought that I had braced myself for the blow. But I guess you just can't always prepare for how you'll feel when someone attacks all your hard efforts, you know? I mean, in her mind, my estranged sister knows it all and I know nothing. My relative sees her as a better success because she's been rubbing elbows with the rich and famous along with other people in the business world, and she sometimes gets access to these VIP events. My relative continues to place me in my sister's shadow. I may not have the same success as my estranged sister, but that does not mean, excuse me, that doesn't mean that I am not successful. And as for these exclusive events that my sister sometimes gets to go to me, that doesn't mean success. That's not a skill you can add on a resume. I'm not interested in following the path that my sister has chosen. She chose her path and I'm choosing mine. Like I said before, she may be older, but that does not mean that I am inferior to her. And to make matters worse, the job that I had applied for turned out to not be the greatest, which made things much more stressful with my very negative relative. I found out in the first week that I did not see myself doing this for an extended period of time. Reason being, the company was not honest about the job expectations. I'm just going to leave it at that. So unfortunately, the job hunt was back on. I decided to still keep the job while I continued to search so I could job search in peace. If I quit the job and my relative knew that I wasn't working, she would get too involved in my job search. It's a shame, but have I had to be discreet. As for now, I'm still searching for another job and I just want this to be over, to be honest with you, this job search. I am really tired mentally and physically. I am. And, I got to be honest, it is not easy for me to share this story. It's not easy to share my story, especially since I'm still searching for a job. Um, but I want to encourage those out there who are going through this or have gone through something similar to what I'm going through. Everyone's story is different, and we shouldn't allow anyone we come across to dictate how our story unfolds. Like I said earlier, that's for God to decide. God allows us to endure certain things so we not only grow stronger, but we're able to help others in similar situations. Being unemployed for 3 years after graduating college is something that people do not talk about. They don't really talk about that. And I'm changing the narrative. I never had a job when I was in high school or in college, even though I wanted to. I wanted to at first. My father was on board for me gaining the experience, but my other relative felt that I needed to focus on my studies, even though I was passing classes with A's and B's, with the exception of math. I got C's in math since it wasn't my strong subject. My estranged sister, on the other hand, she had a job And she had a job when she was in high school with extracurricular activities too. So she was pretty busy. And as I got older, it really started to bother me at first that my sister working and not me. But it's clear that having a job back then wasn't in God's plan for me. I still had some growing to do in other areas of my life. The Heavenly Father definitely knows what's best for us, even if we can't see it right away. I mean, it says so in His Word. His thoughts are not our thoughts and His ways are not our ways. So that pretty much brings me to the end of this two-part video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this was encouraging to those of you who are tuning in. Thank you for listening. If you can relate or know someone who had a similar experience, please share it in the comments below. If you're comfortable with doing it, of course, you don't have to. Anyway. Or you can just share your thoughts in general. I definitely enjoy hearing from you guys. And if you do leave a comment, please refrain from profane language, even if it's an abbreviation, and please be respectful. God bless each and every single one of you. Stay strong, stay encouraged, and stay safe, and take care. Bye.